Hey everybody, welcome back to Mr. Smith's YouTube channel. Today we're going to be continuing talking about our ability to take a technical drawing, read the dimensions off of it, and convert that into a 3D model. So basically we're just reassessing where our skills are at after last school year and working on this stuff virtually. Alright, so I'm going to give you a model. I want you to read through it. I like this model because it tests a lot of the different skills, but really there's a lot of dimensions and you have to use those dimensions to kind of figure out other dimensions. All right, so let's just jump right into it. All right, so this is what our model is going to look like. I've got it opened up in Paint so I can highlight some stuff while I'm working. So before we get started, we're going to actually determine what the length and the width is. But before we do that, let's go ahead and open up our SketchUp. All right, so if you're on the home page of Google SketchUp for Schools, you click this little down arrow to decide your dimensions. Our widest dimension is going to be 110, which is pretty big for inches. If you convert that into feet, you know, I mean, 5 feet is 60 inches. So, I mean, you're looking at like under 10 feet for how big this thing would be. So it's probably better to use centimeters in this case. If you use inches, that's okay. We're just gonna, I'll work with it. All right, so go ahead and delete Temple Grandin so you have a nice workspace. Of course, the very first thing you should do is do a quick save here. So I'm gonna call this YouTube Mechanical 3, and this is the base. All right, so I'm gonna click save. And now we are ready to go. All right, so taking a look at this, I need to find my length and my width. All right, so I quickly see, all right, I'm gonna use red, I quickly see that this whole entire piece here is 110 this way. But then I also need to add the length of this, which is 20 later on. So for now, I am actually just gonna draw this rectangle, and then we'll add all these appendages later. All right, so I need 110 by 70. 110 by 70. So I'm going to pop on over into my SketchUp, and I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, and I'm going to type 70, 110, because I want it to be like this on the axes. All right, so I'm just zooming in now. If you don't have a mouse, you can always go down here and click that, and it'll zoom all the way up on it, and then you can take your orbit tool and kind of adjust. All right, I always do suggest use a mouse. It just makes life a lot easier. All right, so in this video, I'm also going to be talking about the shortcuts. So for instance, like push-pull is P. All right, so P on the keyboard gives you push-pull real quickly. So we need to know how far to pull this up. All right, so I'm gonna hop over into Paint. I'm gonna go ahead and back off those, and I'm gonna find the dimension that shows me the height. Well, I got it right there. So it's 40 high. So I'm gonna, again, if I press P, it gives me the push-pull, come up and press 40 and enter. All right, so I always like to do a couple things and then dimension it, just to make sure that nothing is messed up. So this value here should be 70. This value here should be 110. All right, and then my vertical value is 40. All right, so now at this point, we actually need to start deciding where to go next. I think what I want to do is actually perform these cuts on top before we start focusing on the sides. So I do see that right here, it is 10, all right? The thickness of this inner part is 10. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use an offset. All right, so this is a tool that you may not remember from last year, but if you go into the push-pull, there's this offset tool. All right, you can click the top like so, all right? And then when you let go, it allows you to type in the offset, which is 10, and then enter. So now I have this perfectly aligned box that is 10 from every edge. All right, so now I need to figure out how far down to push this. All right, so I'm gonna push it down, and I see that here, there is the dimension for the push, 16. All right, so I come in here, grab my push-pull, start pushing down and do 16, enter. All right, so we've got this nice looking cube with a nice cut in it. I'm gonna click save, just kind of make sure you're saving every so often. So now I want to put in, I like to call them the castle cuts. You know, if you look at an old school castle, they've got these little divots in them. So let's take a look at those dimensions. All right, so we see that they're different, right? So on the sides of this thing, it's 24, and here it is 20. All right, we also see that this is 43 to the first line. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a little mark for myself so I know where this line starts. So we need to go 43 down, or 43 in. All right, so I'm gonna take my tape measure tool, click on the edge and go to 43 enter. Then I'm gonna take my tape measure tool and I'm gonna draw a line across so that way I just have a mark at 43. All right, I know that this is now 24, right? See, 24. So I'm gonna mark over 24, click enter, then I'm gonna draw this across. All right, so that's gonna be where I draw my lines. I'm gonna draw a line here, I'm gonna draw a line here, I'm gonna draw a line here, and draw a line here. So now I need to come back and take a look because we need to know how far down to push this down. So I'm gonna take a look at my drawing, and what do I see? Right here, we go down 10. All right, so grab the push-pull, push it, 10. All right, remember guys, one of the shortcuts is after you do the first push-pull, if you just double click on the next one, it auto does it. All right, so we went down 10 and down 10. All right, so at this point, I'm just gonna go ahead and delete these grid lines. I'm gonna delete that one. I'm gonna try to zoom in and delete that point if I can. All right, I'm just gonna remove it at the end because it's a little too small. All right, so at this point, I want to do a little dimensioning, so I grab my dimension tool again. All right, remember we needed to dimension that is 16. It's not giving me a point to lock onto. Maybe if I do this line, yep. All right, so that's 16. All right, our other dimension was this 43. And our other dimension was this 24. All right, and I think at that point, that gives us all our dimensions that we just did. So let's take a look. So this one is different. So the reason we didn't do these and these at the same time is this is 20 and this is 25 in. All right, so I need to come 25 in from the edge and then an additional 20 for that cut. So I'm gonna come in 25 and all right, so I'm actually on the dimension tool. All right, you gotta remember to switch back. So I'm gonna grab the tape measure tool. Then I'm gonna click and go. Gotta come in 25. All right, and then once I'm in 25, I go in 20. And now I'm gonna be able to draw my guidelines using the tape measure tool. So I'm gonna do the same thing now, same thing we just did. Click, 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 click. All right, and how far down? All right, so it's actually kind of hard to see, but here you have 30 and here you have 40, so that does mean that this is also 10 down. So we're gonna grab our push-pull and do 10. Then I can just double click the other side. Now I'm gonna remove my dimension line, or my guidelines that I had. Erase, erase, erase. And then of course, I'm gonna grab my dimension tool and I'm gonna go ahead and, well, I'm gonna do it on the back side. I'm gonna dimension that there. And I am going to, I'm gonna go ahead and put a dimension here too. Just to let you know it's 10. Oh, but we also need to include this 25. So there we go. All right, we are gonna click save, and then we're gonna move on to our next stuff, which is basically the appendages, right? if you take a look at this, we have the entire object except for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we got 6 appendages to make. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do this one first. All right, I'm going to do this one first. So I'm going to start by drawing this rectangle here, the big rectangle that's butted up against our object. All right, so I'm looking for the dimensions of that. I see that it's 10 in, right? 10 in, and then the width of it is 50. All right, the height actually matches up to that, which is 30. So I need it to go 10 in and then be 50 by 30. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to go ahead and use my tape measure tool to measure in the 10 in. All right, I got my little dot there. Now I'm going to take my rectangle tool, all right, and I'm going to put 50, 30, enter. All right, and it does exactly what I want. It's flush with this, and you know, if we take our dimension tool, we'll see that that's 10, but I'm going to wait till we're done. So there's several different ways to do this next part. I'm going to kind of do it the way that I first thought about doing it. You may do it a little differently. There is about 3 ways that I figured out so far you can do it. So basically this height is 15. You can figure it out by doing a little math on the dimensions in the drawing. All right, and we know that this is 30. And we also know that we need to come in 20 because we have this 10 and then the width of this is 10. All right, so I'm going to come in 20 first, come in 20, and there's my dot. All right, there's my dot. And then the width of this is 30 and the height is 15. All right, 30 and 15. So 30, 15. Oh, actually, I messed that up. Oh, sorry. I came in 20 from the wrong side. You got to come in 20 from here. So that's our dot. Apologize, guys. Make sure you start from here when you come in the 20. All right. Then we're going to need our 30, 15. And there we go. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull, when we use our push-pull, we're going to pull just this one part out. All right, that way this part stays in there. So how far do we pull that out? Well, we see here that we need to pull it out 20. So I'm gonna grab it. I'm gonna grab it. Let me click off and click back on. Grab it and then 20. All right, then I'm gonna take my pencil, my line tool, and I'm gonna draw a diagonal. Then I'm gonna use the push-pull, and I'm gonna come to this side, draw a diagonal, like so. Then I'm gonna push-pull. Then I'm gonna push-pull this whole thing here, and that whole thing there. And then I'm just gonna take my eraser and clean up. Be careful when you're clicking. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Be careful when you're clicking. You can take your eraser or you can just click lines and press delete. All right, and there we go. So I have that whole side, like I have this side finished. So what I need to do now is dimension. So I'm gonna pull this out. I need from there to there, which is 10. So I'm gonna add it to there. From there to there, which should be 20. All right. Then we need from here to here, which should be 30. Then we need from here to here, should be 15. And it is. And from here to here. Oh, I'm trying to. Pull that out. Pull it out a little further. All right, 30, 15. I think we got it all. I'm gonna move this 40 over here just so we can see it. all on the same side. Okay, so at this point, you can rotate to this side and do the same thing. Or if you feel comfortable from what you learned last year, you can actually try to go in here. So I'm holding control and I'm double clicking all the surfaces. All right, holding control and double clicking all the surfaces. So to get this to work, I actually need to draw a line here and draw a line here. Because the only thing, so I'm holding control and double clicking everything. Because we want to highlight this entire part. All right, so if you do that, you can right click and make it a component. And I can call this side piece. All right, and then click OK. So I have this component, and I actually included some of the dimensions. All right, now I can do what's called a move copy. So if I click that, oh, all right, looks like I missed a piece. I missed that inside piece. So I gotta back up. You just wanna make sure that you get every single piece. So that way, if you're gonna do this method, all right, that should be all the pieces now. So right click, make component, side piece. All right. So if I take my move tool, you can see now that I can kind of pull it off, right? Well, if I tap control and then move it, I can make a copy of it. So I can actually copy it and move it over here to the back, like so. All right, then I can use my rotate tool. So where is my rotate tool? Right here. And let's say that I want to do it like, okay, that makes it go that way. So I want to rotate it from here to here. So I can rotate it that way. Then I can grab my move tool again. So let me put a little mark so I know where to move it to. So I take my tape measure and I move in 10. So I want this point to be on that 10. So I grab the move tool and I grab it and I place it on the 10. All right, so at that point, I have successfully copied, rotated, and moved it to the other side. All right, you could have just redone the entire process, but that's why components were such a powerful thing last year. All right, so at this point, we just need to work on the side. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag this dimension over there so that way I have a clean side to work off of. So let's take a look here. Control Z, 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 Z. All right. So the first thing we notice, all right, so it's kind of hard to tell from these pictures, but this is actually a straight line like that, but then this one is angled up weird. All right, so it kind of looks like little stabilizers or legs. So the first thing we want to do is we know that this dimension here is 10. So I'm going to go ahead and put that. So I'm going to grab my tape measure tool and say 10. And I'm going to work on both sides here. And I'm going to say 10. All right, so I came in 10 from each side. And then I also know that this is 23 out. So I'm going to go ahead and say 23, enter, and 23, enter. All right. So again, I got that from right here. I know that this is 16. This line here is 16. So I'm going to take this and go over 16. I'm going to go here and go over 16. All right. Hold on, this one don't look 16. 16. All right, well, maybe it does. All right, 16. Now I need to go up 8. So I'm going to take this and go up. Got to rotate, move to make sure you're going up 8, up 8. Okay. So at that point, we can actually go in here and go back over 16 and then connect these. well, you know what? I'm not gonna connect this. I'm gonna leave them for now. All right, so now I need to start kind of building off that back wall. So how far up is this? Well, it's 20 up. So I'm basically just using my image to kind of sketch this out before I do anything. All right, so at this point, I can see here that from here to here is 14. And I know this width was 16. So what I can do is add those together. So I had this 16 plus from here to here is going to be another 14, which is 30. So I can draw this over 30, and I can draw this over 30. Malachi, will you get the door? Malachi, will you get the door? See who it is? Somebody's at the door. Can you help me out? All right. So now, at this point, I can start connecting lines and realizing that I can actually, I'm making a video. I'll be done in like 10 minutes.
Okay, I'll be back.
Okay, thank you. All right, so at this point, I can just take my line tool, like so, and I can fill in all the shapes that I have now planned out. And you will see as I'm doing this that they will start adding what you call it. So remember, this was 20 up to there to there. All right, so that one's done. So I can go down, out, over, up. It's kind of auto snapping. You see that? Auto snap. I need to go 20 up there. That didn't look quite right, did it? There we go. Man, I am struggling. All right, up, 20 up there, to there, there, to there, there, to there. Our bottom's good. All right, and there we go. We have our two legs. So let's go ahead and add our dimensions. All right, dimension tool. So we did that point. Oh, I'm on tape measure. Dimension tool. So we did that point. I'm gonna pull it out a little bit more. We did this point, 16. All right, so what you're gonna have to do for this one is draw a line out, all right, and then dimension between here and here, and we get 14, and then you delete that line. All right, so we need to get the height. So the height was 20, and the height was 8, and I think that's it. All right, so we can do the same thing. You can go to this side and redo that whole process. It's not going to be the fastest process, but you can do it. Or if we double click, control, double click, double click, double click, and double click, then we do this one, double click, double click, double click, double click, double click. Okay, I think we got all the sides. You can double click, double click, double click, double click, double click. Oh. All right, I'm trying to go fast because I messed that up. All right, you can right click and make another component, other side piece. All right, that's a good name. So now we grab our move tool. I tap control on the keyboard and it lets me make a copy. So I'm gonna drag that copy to the other side. Now that I have that copy to the other side, I'm gonna grab the rotate tool. I'm gonna click and rotate again. I keep missing. So forward. You wanna do it on this back side. Click to here to rotate. Now I need to put myself a point. I know that it's 10 in, right? So right there is where I want the edge of that to go. So I click this, and I want that edge to go right there. Oh, sorry, that edge to go right there. All right, so now that I've placed those, I can actually go back and delete these. Didn't realize I had a whole nother copy there. And at this point, I have everything that I need for this drawing because it's dimensioned on each side. All right, so try to give me the view. All right, so that's the view of the drawing, right? Where I see this little piece and this piece, and I can see a little bit of that. All right, so that matches this, right? Last thing you need to do, throw your name on it. A lot of y'all are still forgetting. So inside the rectangle tool, I'm gonna go hit it with a Mr. Smith. My height, I wanna make my height like 4. My extrusion like 1, and click OK. And there we go. All right, if you want this to be bigger, you can go grab your scale tool, which is inside the move tool. And if you click on your name, you can actually drag it to be a little bigger. If you feel like it, you can start triple clicking and go in here and add some appearances, but I'm not grading that it has an appearance. It's only if you want to. What's cool about this too is because we did it as a component, whatever we do to one of them happens to the other one. All right, so if y'all remember from last year when we did components, that whatever you do to one of the components happens to the other one. All right, so we only had to edit this one to make that one change, or this one to make that one change. All right, and at this point, I would say that I am done. I have a nice, beautiful model that lines up with the dimensions of everything else. All right, so take a screenshot, get it submitted for me, and as always, see you next time.